Let's get this party started. How about it? We on Zoom? Or we been on Zoom? How are you out there in Zoom land? Thanks for being with us. And those that are uploading later, thank you for that. I am Reverend Penny Honey. Is there anybody in the room that didn't know that? I don't think so. Maybe. It's good to meet you. It's good to have you with us. Thank you for sharing your beautiful Sunday morning with us. So, my friends, with that, I'd like for you to stand and let's join in this Daniel Nahmod song, Love is My Decision. So it's going to start out kind of quiet, and then we're going to move on up the scale. Here we go.
Love is my decision. It's up to me to give of my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision, right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to stand on that bridge. Love is my decision. No one else can make me forgive. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision, right here and now.
All right, here we go. You ready to dance? Come on, here we go.
Love is my decision. It's up to me to dance down the road. Love is my decision. No one else can lighten my load. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision, right here and now.
Okay, if you didn't get it before, here it is.
Love is my decision. It's up to me to dance down the road. Love is my decision. No one else can lighten my load. And once
I decide
to change
my mind.
God will show me how. Love is my decision,
Right here and now. Right here, folks. Right here. Here it is.
my decision, right here and now.
Say good morning to each other. How simple could that be? We call this the handshakes, hugs, and howdies time. I love it when it takes an army to get you back together. That's good. Welcome. Good morning. No, you can say good morning. Good morning. There we go. So, I like to start out in gratitude. And the first folks I want to acknowledge are those that put their hands and their feet to task here and make this happen. Now, that isn't just the Ravis that come down here and I'm flying around or zooming around. Kind of quiet, actually. And he's setting things up and getting it ready to go. There's that. And then Don shows up to help over there at the AV table. And then Chavez over there, he just makes sure that they don't get lost. Couldn't do it without any of them. But it's also the person that builds the website. It's the person that says yes when somebody says, will you pray with me? It's the person sitting in the chair right there that showed up this morning. We appreciate you. You too are volunteering your time. Bless you. You too are opening your heart. And that's the first step to that volunteering thing, isn't it? Open your heart. And we'll give you more opportunities to do that over on that information table, but we'll talk about that later. All right? I keep going the wrong way, and man, have I done that in my life before. Anybody else? And this month we, of course, are acknowledging Tim, who has the day off. He and beautiful Sheila are in the United States enjoying themselves, but he is our volunteer of the month. Round of applause for Tim Ford. I cannot stand here and tell you everything he does because we'd run out of time. So thank you, Tim. So take a deep breath with me, won't you? Anybody rush around this morning? Anybody lose something this morning? Couldn't put their hands on it right away? Take a deep breath. We're here now, right now. So we open our minds and we soften our hearts and we say, thank you, Spirit. Thank you, Spirit. We come together humbly and grateful for this connection. We come together in mind, in heart, and in spirit. And grace swoops in and carries us forward as a collective consciousness, blessing us, grounding us, that we might rest in the knowing that we are one with the divine. I want to rest there for just a moment. So we offer this time and this space. Take it away, God. We've done all we could do. We stand willing and ready. And for that, we are grateful. And together we say, Amen, 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 e puto. Thank you. Now, do we have anyone here for the first time? Because we'd love to bless you and acknowledge you. You know what, Eric? I say you qualify, and I'm the one that gets to make that decision because I have the microphone. This is Eric. Anybody else here for the first time? All right. So, Eric, we're going to bless you. And pardon me? Maybe they're happy not standing up, and you can stay seated if you so wish. Okay, so here we are. Together we say, we see who you are. You are a beautiful expression of the divine. We love you. We appreciate you. We celebrate the Christ as you. And we affirm all possibilities in your life. Welcome. Thank you. Round of applause for our visitors. You bet. Somebody said they never quite know if they should applaud or not. And I say, always. Whoop, come on up, Bethel, honey. I'm just standing up here filling time till this beautiful one arrives. Our LUT for the day that is going to read our daily word. Thank you, Bethel Barnes. Look how lovely you look.
Thank you.
Doesn't she look lovely?
Thank
All right,
you.
step on up here, honey.
Okay. The daily word for today, June 28th, is connection. Can you all hear me back there? Say yay. And the affirmation is, I share a connection to all living things. Let's say that affirmation together.
They will as soon as I show it to them.
Oh yeah,
I'm over here.
let's show them that affirmation.
Good cheap help is hard to find.
I know. So we're going to say our affirmation together. I share a connection with all living things. I share a connection with the human family, the world's creatures, and the universe itself. I'm reminded of the words of astronomer Carl Sagan, who wrote, "The cosmos is within us. We are made of star stuff. We are a way for the universe to know itself." I affirm this cosmic connection and more. I feel I am a part of everything and connected with everyone through the indwelling presence that unites us in God. When the world feels lonely and I'm struggling to find my place in it, I remember this cosmic connection and that despite our surface differences, we have much in common. I value my connection with others and seek to make new ones. I treasure these relationships and celebrate our oneness in God. Today's daily word was inspired by 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 11, which reads, "Therefore, encourage one another and build up each other, as indeed you are doing." Let's say our affirmation one more time. I share a connection to all living things.
Thank you, Miss Bethel. Thank you, thank you. Connection. Do you ever find any of that here on Sunday? I know I do. And today we are blessed by Rabbi Larry joining us as our storyteller, and I'll be bringing him up here shortly. But what that connection is the holy pause. Not these paws. Thanks, Luna. Before the story begins today, I want to invite us into something far quieter than a story. It's the pause between stories. It's the holy gap. It's the breath inside the breath. Do you remember feeling that at least once in your life? I believe that the first breath of a newborn baby is exactly that. It's the breath inside the breath. In every spiritual tradition, there is a reverence for the space between things. Oh, I know why I'm confusing people. There we go. In every spiritual tradition, there's a reverence and a reference for the space between things. The moment where nothing is happening. Do you remember one of those? When you looked upon something and recognized its holiness so clearly that nothing was happening. And yet, in that very moment, everything is possible. In every spiritual tradition, this is practiced. New Thought calls it the fertile void. That place where spirit whispers before form takes on shape. Those Buddhist teachings, the spaces that hold all experience without clinging. How about that one? The moment where nothing is happening. And the Jewish mystics speak of ayin. Am I saying that right? I got that from a guy that knows. Speak of ayin, the sacred nothingness from which creation emerges. It's funny, isn't it? We spend so much time trying to fill our lives up, don't we? Or maybe, am I the only one? I'm not. Our calendars, our minds, and yet the great teachers keep pointing us toward those empty places. The Trappist monk Thomas Merton said this. He said, "It is in deep silence that the voice of God can be heard." And Alan Watts said this, "Muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone." So let's take a breath together. Let's feel the pause at the top of that breath and the pause at the bottom of that breath, won't you? Here we go. Notice how even the holding of the breath has a texture of its own. It's a tiny moment where nothing is demanded of you, where you remember your wholeness. Because sometimes the spaces in our lives, sometimes they last for days. Our storyteller today, Larry, will be inviting us into this concept of spaces and moments. Sometimes we notice them, sometimes they sneak up on us. Oh, look, there it is, awareness again, right? Sometimes they just irritate us with an unwanted interruption. But sometimes they feel like an invitation. The Buddhists taught that if you can quiet the mind for even a moment, you will see clearly. So before we hear stories from biblical spaces, Jewish pauses, and Buddhist moments, let's set our hearts to receive them not as explanations, but as an experience. To receive them as an invitation. Where is the space in your life? Maybe one you don't even understand yet. That actual sacred threshold. Where is it? Let's enter the storytelling offering with open hearts, soft edges, and a willingness to let the spaces speak. Because the story is beautiful, but the pause is holy. And it is my pleasure to introduce, there it is. There we go. I want to introduce Rabbi Larry. Round of applause would be appropriate right now. He says, "I think everybody knows me." Oh, okay, wink, wink.
Pretty much. Yeah, I think so.
So Larry said he didn't want a big flowery introduction. He didn't want me to read his resume. I said, okay, so I'm not gonna. What I'm gonna say is this. There are people that come into your life, that they open your hearts, they see your soul, and they're honest with you. And some of them aren't very nice when they do it. That's not Larry. Larry is gentle and kind and loving. And if you see me getting off the rails, yell his name. We're grateful to have you here. All right.
Most of the time. Wow. I'm going to ask you a favor. Marcia, can you hear if I talk at this level? Okay. Can you make it just slightly louder? Great. Okay? Okay, great. Because I don't like to have to. I will come up at times, but this is such a luscious space, to be where I can breathe, where I can talk normally. I'm going to ask you a favor. If you really appreciate something during my talk or at the end, let's not applaud. I appreciated the applause coming up. That was fun, and you guys love applauding. I come down here on Sundays, and you're like, oh, you know. This, or as my teacher Reb Salman taught it, and other spiritual teachers I've known, this. Wow. I have to tell you, it's been a really amazing week at Namaste. My friend Marcia back there, who I just asked for a sound check, gave so much of herself this week to somebody who was ill, and I think probably got as much back, right? Last night, several of us gathered around the fire. The fire wasn't going to happen because it looked like a thunderstorm, you know? And then it happened. And Jet brought his harmonium, you know, and it reminded me that in ancient days, people gathered around the fire. It wasn't like, ooh, let's have a fire, you know, once a month. It was like, make the fire, we got to cook. Make the fire, we got to get warm. And in those days, the young people and the old people sat around the fire and they told stories. What if we could all tell our story, you know? Which is not what I'm going to do today. I'm not going to tell you my story. But I am going to use the Jewish technique, style of midrash. And midrash means digging deeper, literally. We're going to dig deeper. And you know what those people did around the fire? They said, oh, you know, this biblical text says God created the world. Let there be light. Now, does the text tell us the details of that? Nope. Doesn't tell us the details, right? And that's what they did. They sat around and they figured out the details. And that's midrash. So biblical midrash, so we take a piece of text, right? And I'm going to use that in a little while to read a story that I wrote. That's contemporary midrash. Biblical midrash, we take a piece of text, so let's say King David. Everybody's heard of King David. Even if you're not a Bible scholar, you've heard of King David. You also know that King David had some rough edges. You also know that he composed these amazing poems. We don't know the music. Or maybe we do. We might. We know the poems. And the Midrash tells, so the rabbis sit around, or these young people sit around the fire, and they say, how do you do that? And so one very tiny piece of beautiful midrash is David would hang his harp on one of the walls of his tent. And he'd go to bed and he'd meditate, and the north wind would come in and play the melodies on the harp, and he would put the lyrics to it. That's midrash. Beautiful example. My favorite contemporary midrash is a book that came out maybe 20 years ago by Anita Diamond called The Red Tent. Some of you, yeah, there you go, right? If you haven't, okay? So she takes the story of Dinah, who narrates the text. Dinah is the only daughter of Jacob, of the biblical figure Jacob mentioned in the text. And Dinah plays a role later in the text, but here she is with the 4 women by whom Jacob has children. And the tent was a representation of the place that the women went when they were menstruating or when they were giving birth and after birth. In the biblical text, they're considered impure. I'm not fond of the word. Do whatever you want with it. They went to the tent, and Dinah talks about what did the women talk about in the tent. So again, what you have is a piece of text being expanded on. One more. And this is not a biblical text. Okay, so we tell stories about the people we know about. So the founder of the Hasidic movement in Judaism, the Hasidic movement is founded around bringing the story, the biblical story, out to people who couldn't read it and who didn't have the time to be in synagogue or in the study house. And so this guy, the Baal Shem Tov, he comes kind of out of nowhere. And there are all these stories about him as a child. So one day the Baal Shem Tov is like taking a nap or he's meditating, and a teacher comes to him. And the teacher, this old man, says, I'm going to come teach you when you're ready. And then later one day he's in the mikveh, the ritual bath, and he's underwater. And again, he opens his eyes and he sees this teacher. And the teacher says, meet me at such and such a time, at such and such a place in the forest. And so begins the Baal Shem's learning of Torah, Talmud, the Jewish wisdom literature, and Kabbalah. So begins. Now, that's not taken from the biblical text, but they kind of get a biblical figure in there because there's a guy called Achia the Shilonite who appears like 3 times in the biblical text. Gives a little prophecy and he's gone. For some reason, whoever made up this story decided, hey, here's Achia. He's the guy who's going to come hundreds of years later, thousands of years later, and teach one of our holiest figures in Jewish lore. Okay, that's Midrash. Spaces and moments. You ever have the experience of somebody saying to you what you do yesterday? And it's not there, right? It's mostly my contemporaries here, right? You get it, totally. It's not there. Was it a space? Did you fill the space? I don't know. But there are always these spaces. And thank you to Reverend Penny. That was such a beautiful, mindful moment to bring that together, you know. She sent me a little like, this is what I'm going to say, sort of, you know. And I came down here this morning on my way to breakfast, and I said, I don't have to talk now. You know, you've done it. This is perfect. Spaces. I'm going to use the space from the story of Jonah. And I'm going to read you something I wrote that I'll tell you about in a minute. Jonah gets swallowed. You know, Jonah's told, you got to go to Nineveh, man, and you got to tell them they're sinners and they got to repent, and, you know, you'll probably get stoned to death, but okay. You know. That's Midrash, by the way. God never says that, right? That's Midrash. Jonah runs away. The big storm comes up. You know the story, right? Most of you know the story. The big storm comes up. Jonah cops to it. You know, this is probably my fault. You should throw me overboard. They throw him overboard. Gets swallowed by a big fish, or as Walt Disney would have it, a whale. I mean, probably is, but what's it doing in the Mediterranean, you might ask? Jonah gets swallowed. Text tells us Jonah was in the belly of the whale for 3 days. Now, it tells us Jonah prayed. Jonah cried out to God. Jonah cried out to God. What took him 3 days? There's the space in the text. So I got fascinated by this years and years ago. And in the early 90s, I was spending some time at Duke, and my study partner and I went to the library looking for Midrash on the book of Jonah for this particular piece. We found an 11th century text. This is the cool thing about being places like Duke or Stanford or Harvard. You know, you go into the library and there's all this weird stuff. 11th century text with all these little midrashim, that's the plural in Hebrew, on Jonah. So before we get to moments, and there is obviously a moment in here, I am going to sit down and I am going to read you this piece that was published in 1998 in a little journal called Living Text. Probably have trouble finding it anymore because the organization still exists, but the journal wasn't making any money. How much time have I got? I feel like I'm just getting on a roll. We were sitting over tea in a sandwich place on 74th and Broadway. One of those places where the tables are too close and where you need a matchbook, right, to keep the table from rocking. And in Mexico. The late afternoon sun reflected from a window across the street. Yossel pulled his chair closer to the table and shaded his eyes with a fisherman's cap he wore in lieu of the traditional kippah head covering. I'd met Yossel earlier that day, a lone figure in a library empty of students who were away for the holidays. He had stacked up every source he could find on Jonah, the Yom Kippur afternoon reading. What would you do, he asked, if God himself arrived in all his glory and told you to go to the White House and demand repentance for the sins of the populace? What would I do? Well, if and only if I were convinced it was God, who, by the way, I'm not sure I believe in. What? You don't believe in God? Yossel interrupted. Wait, let me finish. No, it's a point I must clarify. You're a rabbinical student, and you don't believe in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? I replied, I sometimes think that that God only exists in Brooklyn and Mea Shearim in Jerusalem. Yossel became quiet for a moment. I continued. To answer your earlier question, I'd probably run like hell. Where would you run to? It's not the right question, Yossel, I said. If you want to teach me about Jonah, I already understand that running was futile. God had plans for him. I'm only telling you what I would do. Okay, my friend, he said. Jonah ran and ultimately found himself in the belly of a big fish. It's 3 days before he calls out to God. What was he doing? Well, perhaps he was simply unconscious, I offered. I don't think so, said Yossel. Putting the time in the text suggests Jonah's awareness of its passage. So what was he doing? Well, perhaps God was teaching him Torah was my next attempt. A good answer, said Yossel. If you're a midrashist or a mystic. However, if after 3 days Jonah calls out to God, doesn't it imply God's absence during that time? Okay, I said. If I were Jonah, I would have spent the 3 days frantically trying to figure out how to get out of there. Not knowing what would happen next and thinking it probably wasn't good. Better, he said. I'll allow you 1 day of Jonah's time for escape attempts. What did he do for the next 2 days? At this point, a little break here. At this point, my eyes wandered to a pretty woman who had entered the shop. David, cried Yossel, come back here. Yossel spoke with an authority that belied our only having met some hours ago. I wondered why I gave him so much power. The question he was asking was not especially new, but there was something. I expect I said that Jonah is like someone who knows that it is soon to be over. He probably sat and thought about his life. A review? A review. Better. Thank you, I said. But more was coming. He was not put off by so simple an answer. So tell me about this life about which your Jonah sat for 2 days and thought. Was he confused? Did he feel righteous? Did he feel guilty? We know nothing about Jonah's life. From the text? From the text, I answered. Then make it up, said Yussel. Give Jonah a life. What? I jested. A wife and kids and a house in Passaic, New Jersey? Perhaps you are the midrashist here. Give Jonah a life. And so, I embarked with my friend Yussel on a journey of discovery. I invented a Jonah with tents and cattle, a beautiful wife with a head for business, a few sons and daughters, and a gift for invention. Miriam said, Jonah, I had a visitor today. Yes, my husband? God came to see me. You've been drinking, my husband? No, Miriam, my precious God, the God of our ancestors, appeared to me in the field today and gave me some very disturbing news. My husband, why would God, the God of Israel, of my mothers, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah, appear to you? A farmer, a shepherd, a businessman. Granted, you're a good man, but God? Miriam, my darling, I cannot answer that question. Why does God do anything? Well then, Jonah, what terrible news did God bring? God told me to go to Nineveh to warn the populace of its impending destruction for the sinfulness of their ways. And what, Jonah, does God expect me to do here without you while you're screaming at the harlots of Nineveh? Did you ask him that? I asked. He said you'd make out. He says I have to go. Jonah, my precious husband, you sure it was God? I'm sure, Miriam, that it was not just another shepherd. Okay, Jonah, tell you what you do. You go down to the docks in Yaffo and you hire the fastest boat. When I finished my story, it had long since become dark outside. People drifted by the window on this warm September night. I had just spent hours in another part of the world, in another millennium. It was past time for me to be home with my own partner, in my own home, preparing for the holiest day of the Jewish year. Do you have some place to spend Yom Kippur, I asked. Yom Kippur, I will be in Jerusalem, near to the graves of our ancestors, perhaps near to that of Jonah. From his pocket, he took an airline ticket and handed it to me. It was for later that evening, a flight from Kennedy, a stop in Paris, and on to Israel. I felt disappointment and envy. Yussel raised his large spare frame from the chair. I have to go, he said. I'll miss you, I said. Thank you for the story, said Yussel. It was only that, I said. Who knows, said Yussel. Several years later, my wife and I bumped into Yussel on Yaffo Street in Jerusalem. He embraced me as if we had spent far more nights than one September evening together halfway across the world. He looked older and walked with a slight limp. He looked at pictures of the children and then announced that he had to go. But Yussel, we've only just met. A cup of coffee, perhaps? No, he interrupted. I am on my way to the synagogue. I do not wish to be late. At least, Yussel, a few words. A few words for my friend David. Yussel's brow furrowed. He looked at me, and I saw the fire and the pain that were hidden behind the gentle smile. I saw the authority that I had seen years before in New York, and something else. This year, said Yessel, I will finally cry out to God. Well, all right. I got 10 more minutes.
You do.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. All right. Spaces, moments. So I'm going to change gears a little bit, and I'm going to reach for an old Zen story. Excuse me. One more. Called the Koan of the Fox. Some of you may have heard this. Far away, right? Somewhere in a monastery in the Himalayas. Zaroshi. Pardon me for putting a Zen monastery in the Himalayas, but it's okay. It's the storyteller's prerogative. Every morning, the Roshi comes, the abbot of the monastery, and gives a Dharma talk to the students. And every day, an old man comes, listens to the Dharma talk, disappears out the door before anybody can encounter him. One day, one of the students asks the Roshi, "Who is that old man?" The Roshi says, I don't know. When I was a novice, I asked the Roshi the same question. Who is that old man? And he said the same thing. I don't know. He's been coming here forever. I asked my Roshi that question. He didn't know. One day, the old man doesn't come. The Roshi instructs the students, go and prepare a grave where we bury the Roshis. Bring the ritual objects so we can do meditation and prayer for he who we will bury. So they don't know what's going on. They go do what the Roshi tells them. They prepare. They bring a carrier for a body. They haven't seen one. The Roshi leads them out into the field adjoining the monastery. And under a shrub there is the body of a fox. And they lift the body of the fox and they carry it back and they bury it and they do all the beautiful rituals. They cover the grave. And one of the students says to the Roshi, "What was that about?" "Huh? We buried a fox." The Roshi said, "You know that old man who used to come, who came except today, every day?" "Sure we do. He came to me yesterday, and he told me his story. And many, many years ago, he was the Roshi of this monastery, the abbot, the holy man of this monastery. And someone came to him and said, I have a question. The question was, when enlightenment comes, does karma stop?" And the old man told me, when he was the Roshi, he said, yes, when enlightenment comes, karma stops. But the powers that be, whatever they are, decided that was the wrong answer. And so, he was told that his next incarnation would be as a fox, and that once a day, he would be a human, and he had to come and listen to the Dharma talk. And so for many years, he's been coming, listening to the Dharma talk, returning into the body of a fox. And yesterday, when he came to me and told me his story, he asked me a question. What do you think? When enlightenment comes, does karma stop? What do you think? And I told him, says the Roshi, Enlightenment is enlightenment. Karma is karma. And at that moment, that man, the fox man, was enlightened. And he was able to go back into the body of the fox and leave the body as a soul. And his karma stopped. Now, short of us sitting here for 5 years and trying to unpack that, and then going to the Zen master and having the Zen master send us back to meditate more, I'm not going to unpack that. I want you to be aware of the moment. I want you to be aware of that moment of awareness, of awakening, of enlightenment. Yeah. Nice. I want you to be aware that for many of you, as I've told maybe both of these stories, you became aware of spaces. You became aware of moments. Many years ago, not so many actually, I had an apartment overlooking the Atlantic Ocean, and I had a space. I had no plans for a weekend, and I sat out there, and all of a sudden it was like, wow. And I cried and I laughed through the whole weekend. Whatever I did. And that was both a space, and there were moments in it. So the koan, in fact, I would say also, there are no paradoxes in awakening. So once you get that moment, I was sitting on the porch and I'm going, there are no paradoxes. Well, of course there are paradoxes. No, there are no paradoxes. Not there. Okay, enough of that. All right. Let me all right. Just about wrapping up. So I encourage you to play with all of that, okay? So first of all, I want to thank all of you who've stayed with me this whole half hour. Yeah, I've been talking for half an hour. I also want to thank those of you who drifted off into monkey mind but chose not to get up and leave. You got something, okay? You got something. I also want to thank those of you who drifted off into your own space or moment. This is a great community. So thank you for being here today. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. I'm gonna remember to give gratitude for those that might have wandered off in their minds. I think that's a good way. That's a good thing to come to, isn't it? Rabbi Larry, we have been blessed. Thank you. So let's take a deep breath. So many things to be grateful for. And if we could move our ushers into place, that would be good right now as we start to gather the good. Take a deep breath. Yes, it is good to be us. And the way that we can demonstrate that now is by dropping something in the bucket. Because we like coming together as a community, don't we? Can we hold these buckets up and do a little blessing? Okay, here we go. I want to remind us of this, that the meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away. Good timing for that quote, don't you think? We are blessed here at Unity Ahihic. We are grateful for your generosity and your abundance. So go forward, my friends, gather the goods while I keep talking about some things we want to share. Thank you again for your generosity. You know, if you didn't bring any pesos today, if you don't have any dollars, because we take both, Canadian and American, by the way, you can just click that little QR code out there in the entryway. It's really kind of a cool setup. And if you need any help with that, you come see me. I'll find somebody that'll know how to do that or help you with that. All right? Or you can also do that on the website, of course, www.unityahihic.org. So take a deep breath. Is there any place that you have been blessed this week? I'd like you to bring that to the forefront of your mind. Is there a person that touched your life this week? There were several, but is there any that just come to mind right now? Are there those that need healing? Bring them forward into this space of gathering our good. We bring them into this space. Come on forward, ladies. We bring them into this space. We feel the connection and the oneness. Thank you for bringing those up here. And as we celebrate this abundance, I invite you into seeing those that might need support, those that are looking for blessings, those that seem or appear to be lost. Bring them forward. Now bring the ones that are celebrating life and expressing the divine and inviting us into that. Bring them into this space of abundance, of gathering our good. And then affirm these baskets with me, won't you? You see it on the screen. We give from abundance, we are blessed. We receive abundantly, we are a blessing. Thank you, Spirit, for our highest good. And so it is, and so we let it be. I would like to thank Jerry Manning for being our chaplain today. Thank you, Jerry. She'll be over here in the garden area to support you in your prayer requests and your dreams and everything that you're celebrating. And then I would like to remind you there's a prayer request box in the entryway. You know, we've actually been getting several prayer requests. And on the bottom it says, would you like to hear from the minister? If you want to, check yes. That's what we're here to be for each other. And those prayer requests go to Silent Unity, and they're held in prayer for another 30 days. We are based on prayer. We are founded on prayer. We are the voice of Spirit, and it likes hearing from us, don't you know? All right, so I got some announcements. I would like to celebrate. This is the last Sunday of the month. This has been Pride Month, and Unity Ahihic is celebrating that with all the beloveds on the planet. Grateful and proud to be a part of that. We have a new opportunity. It's the Helping Hands team, and there's a sign up over there on the information table, and Miss Colleen will help you with that. If you have, raise your hand, Colleen. So there we go. We don't want you hiding back there. This is what we are as a tithing community. We have created a program called the Helping Hands team. We're going to be looking for folks that are interested in, we need 3 or 4, in helping to guide, helping to direct, and choose the recipients of our tithe. I know there's a puppy in the room, but keep looking at me anyway. We'll get to the puppy. So the Helping Hands team, you help to choose the recipients of our 65% of our 10% tithe goes to the Helping Hands. And this is to help local organizations here in Ahihic. So you want to be a part of that? Sign up over there. There's info over there. For the first quarter of 2026, the decision by the board was Ahihic Food Bank. We are celebrating that. They like getting a little boost from us. This is our community. Let's act like it. And then I want to invite some of you potluck angels. I saw you dashing around here, but it would be nice to know that we've got a few of you before the potluck to help with that amazing hospitality team. Thank you, Susie, and thank you, Peta. There you. Thank you, thank you. See Colleen over there at the information desk. We're looking to get those people put in place just for the potluck. It's a one-day gig. You're working commission. It's easy. So have you signed up for the newsletter yet? Really? Now, I've been asking that question, have you? Because, I'm the one that sees the sign-up list, so I know if you did or didn't. So if you're not getting the e-letter, I really encourage you to do that and go check out our website. Lots of cool changes, lots of fun stuff. And on that sign-up sheet for the newsletter, if you want to have coffee with me, you let me know. Because that's what we do in community. We're here to be with you. Next week, we are diving into July, and look who's going to be with us, Miss Suzanne Sims, back on the platform. We'll be having our full band back, and we are grateful to have our minister in residence, Reverend Laura Bennett, coming. She will be with us for the month of July. She'll be delivering those Sunday messages and also those Monday morning classes. So July, we get back on our routine of ministers in residence, and we're grateful for that. All right, bring that puppy up here because I'm not going to compete with it anymore. I just don't have the eyes, right? Here we go. We are looking for a home, a beautiful home for this little puppy. Here you go. Come over here in front of the camera because somebody may want to Zoom us and tell us, yeah, put it in the mail. It's smallest. I think a postage stamp would work. This of course is James Twyman with his friend Button, and we're looking for a good home. You want to say anything about that?
Only that I did what any of you would have done. I was walking down the street, and this adorable puppy was all alone, just wandering the streets. I had to rescue him, and now we're just looking for his forever home, or even a foster, someone who could, because I'm leaving on Thursday, and so we need to have someone or a family to take this lovable little Button home. We call him Button because he's as cute as a button.
And Button has seen the vet and has had a little checkup and is healthy, and is ready to go home with you.
And his shots and everything else.
Shots and everything. So if you are interested, see James. He's the guy with the puppy. All right. So there we go. And if you missed anything on a Sunday, you can always go back, of course, and check us out at youtube.com at Unity Ahihic. Check it out there. We're uploaded on YouTube. And everything you want to know about the ministry, of course, www.unityahihic.org. So how about we stand and do the prayer of protection? This was written by James Dillett Freeman, as it says on the screen, and we've just added a little bonus to it, and it's to engage us into the words that sometimes we just say by rote. Won't you join me? The light of God surrounds us. We are the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. We are the love of God. The power of God protects us. We are the power of God, and the presence of God watches over us. We are the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And won't you join me now? Next week we'll be doing this to the salsa, but this week we'll do it to YouTube. How about it? All right. Join hands, make a circle, however you want to do it. We're going to sing the peace song.
With God as
Create a great week. Don't forget, we're open every Sunday, 12 noon, right here, folks. Thank you.